Blue's Life Series, Episode 14. The Investigation Heats Up. Last time on Blue's Life Series, Geppettie purchased a home on the beach for her and Blue to start fresh. Niedza visited and made tentative plans with Lou. Mercel chatted with Blue concerning events and discovered a vital clue. Sal came to visit Blue. He asked the usual amenities and told him a little of his own experience. It was as if the event cemented their budding friendship. "I know! It's as if we're just lab rats!" Blue exclaimed.
"Precisely," Sal commented. "But this is a lovely place to forget all your troubles."
He looked towards the inlet. A seagull cried overhead. Blue breathed deeply.
"I have always loved it here." "Yes, I do see the appeal. Evergreen has so many troubles. This is a place one could forget."
Monastery thanked Blue for coming over. He had so many things to attend to, and a bake sale would greatly help increase funding. Blue was glad to help and asked where to set up and what Monastery expected. Monastery stated, "I believe there is ample space below where you could. Take a look and see what you feel is best." Blue grumbled mentally to himself.
"I thought you had a plan in mind."
After receiving instructions, Blue placed the stand on the corner. Evergreen Harbor was a far cry from his saloni, and he felt depressed a little. Blue had baked and cooked several items to display, so once the stand was set up, he put them on the table and began to holler,
"Hot, fresh food! Get your hot, fresh food here! Cooked by the finest chef in all of Evergreen Harbor!"
He yelled repeatedly, enticing passersby to stop, smell, and hopefully buy. He chatted with a few and explained why he was having a bake sale. "Monastery? Ah, yes, he does so much for the community," several people said, though there were a few who said, "Religious nut." Blue ignored their comments and continued to ply his wares. "Hot, fresh food! Get your hot, fresh food here!" Sims came by to smell the aroma, though some commented his food stank. Blue didn't let their negativity bother him, but instead said,
"Why not give it a try before you say that? After all, I'm an award-winning chef. You normally would pay top simoleum to sample anything I cook." They looked at him and wondered who this chef was. Peeler met Niedza when she entered the house and began to discuss her situation with Lou. "What is the intended outcome?"
Niedza swallowed. Peeler was thinking experiment, but Lou wasn't an experiment. Niedza frowned. She didn't know quite what to say. "He's pregnant," she said softly.
"Yes," Peeler affirmed, "but that isn't the question. There have been many Sims that we have impregnated."
She watched Niedza carefully. "He wants to keep the baby," Niedza stated.
"I gathered that when he asked Shira about your support concerning the baby."
Niedza looked down at the ground. "What if I want to?" Peeler straightened and thought for a moment.
"Do you know what you are saying?"
Niedza bit her lip.
"I'm crazy about him. I can't think when I'm near him. Nothing else seems to matter."
She began to tell Peeler all the things she found intoxicating about Lou. Then she saw Peeler's eyes. Peeler told her a story about a 6 a.m.er who had become attached to her pet, and it led to a very dark ending.
"Pet? Is that what you think Lou is? A pet?"
Niedza scoffed.
"Perhaps you should return to the homeworld for a time and think about the relationship between you and this Sim."
Niedza stared at her. It wasn't unexpected, but the very thought hurt Niedza.
"What? No!"
"Yes," Peeler stated firmly. "You're jeopardizing our mission here. We aren't here to cavort with the locals, but rather to gather intel and stop those responsible for killing Sims."
"I know," she whined.
"No, I think it is too late for that," Peeler said. "I'll make the necessary arrangements."
Carl toiled over finishing the rocket. It was nearly done. He half heard Mercel yell from the doorway that he was headed to Geppetie's. He thought Mercel had said something about Blue being found. He groaned inwardly. If it was a death announcement, he didn't want to tell that sweet lady. He didn't want to see the expression of grief, hurt, and anger. No, he would rather stay here and finish the rocket.
"There!
The rocket was finished. First, a shower to wash off the grime. After cleaning up, he was ready to blast into space. One wouldn't want to face alien representatives smelling like last year's garbage. Now, to test it. He opened the door, then turned and waved to an imaginary crowd before entering the rocket. He would go and find those aliens, or at least make sure the rocket was spaceworthy. Carlos was disappointed when he returned home. He hadn't seen one spacecraft, but the cosmos was beautiful and vast. It was overwhelming. Stars, blackness, wisps of color here and there, and small round shapes in the distance. He felt humbled. Life on SimWorld seemed so small and irrelevant in comparison to this huge place. Upon returning home, he went inside and had a bite to eat, but the place was quiet. Had Mercel not returned from Geppette's? He frowned, then went searching for his brother. They hadn't taken down the Christmas decorations. It was something both of them kept putting off. The TV wasn't on, but perhaps he was reading. No, maybe he was tired and went to bed, but the bed was empty. Carl looked at his phone. Had Mercel messaged him when he was too far to receive the signal? There was no message. Where was Mercel? Should he wait a little while before panicking? Perhaps he should call Geppettie. Mercel left Blue on the beach, then headed to the corners. The place was empty of living souls, but he found an open computer. He sat down and began to research what was on it. At first, it was just standard. Mr. X found in location Z, covered in a mixture of G, B, F type debris. But then it became interesting. There were detailed notes on the precision cuts, evidence of research done on the bodies.
Why hadn't they told Carl and himself about this?
He continued to read and began to understand that the deaths were these aliens' experiments. He groaned inwardly and felt ill. The coroners had kept key information from them.
Why? Were they involved? Was she the alien Blue described?
Mercel swallowed hard. Had he stumbled into something sinister? Carl called Geppettie. Yes, I not only spoke with him on the phone, he came over and we chatted. I think he said he was going to find Blue on the beach, Geppettie informed him.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling me.
Carl again tried to call Mercel, but it went straight to voicemail. That was unlike his brother. He sighed deeply. Geppettie had told them she was in the process of moving to Solani, so if he wanted to visit, he would need to come to their new home. He sat thinking for a moment about what steps he should take and in what order. Carl called some other friends just in case Mercel had spoken to any of them. Vlad had debated about getting involved, though he had already confronted Niedza on her insimian smell. The community board was a good place to gather information, if not directly. Someone would come along to check the board and he would ask questions. Armed with his best sunblock, he explored the region. A local woman came to the board. They made small talk and she celebrated certain events listed on the board. She told him about the bake sale that Monastery had organized and that he should check there. He had heard that Blue was rubbing elbows with Monastery, a creature Vlad had avoided. He didn't really need some religious zealot telling him about his evil ways, but he did want to know how Blue was doing. He made the trip and discovered he had just missed Blue's bake sale. Still, Monastery was worth a visit. The monk was amiable, though Vlad could sense he didn't really like him. Monastery told him about the successful bake sale, and they discussed heatedly their differences on God and religion. Finally, Monastery stated, "You are right to be concerned. Blue is lost in many ways. He is full of fear and running from the ones that love him most. He fears that he might bring upon them the harmful things that have transpired against him. He is down deep a good soul, though misguided, and as many of us do, reaching for answers in all the wrong places. I believe it would be in his best interest to be involved in something other than his own misery." Vlad agreed.
Solani, you say? I've been meaning to head out there, though I'm not much into a lot of sun. It is bad for my complexion, you see.
The monk eyed him warily.
Allergies, you see, though my allergy to light isn't as pronounced as some, it is still a deep concern.
After a day at work, Geppettie found herself making a drink. The events had taken their toll, and she found she needed some stress relief. Blue was outside showering in the rain, and she wanted to cry. In the morning, Blue braved coming into the house to fix breakfast, but she found she couldn't eat. So instead, she had an espresso and sipped it while he ate. They spoke about the successful bake sale and how pleased Monastery had been. Blue even donated a total of $10,000 to the church. He looked apologetic.
I'm sorry. I should have asked you. I'm sorry.
She smiled sadly. I don't mind you giving to the church. I'm glad you can help Salvatore. He has a great ministry there in Evergreen, and the people need so much. Ever since the factory closed down, the place seems to be in shambles. Undesirables have moved in, or Sims, so down on their luck, have turned to crime. It is sad, really. I do hope things can turn around. After breakfast, Blue went to care for the animals, and Geppettie went to stare at the water. It was raining, but the warmth kept her from putting anything more on than a swimsuit. She wondered if the fish cared what Sims did. The water lapped against the pier and splashed her a bit. The alien support group dropped by unannounced. Sal and Akimi had organized it. They expressed their concern and told Geppettie that she and Blue needed love and support, and they were here for them. Blue managed to greet everyone, though he spent more time with Sal than anyone else. He prepared a meal, though most weren't hungry, so it was Geppettie and Blue and a couple of others who enjoyed the food. Blue managed to stay indoors for quite a while for him, though Geppettie noticed as the night wore on, he snuck outside and left her to entertain their guests. This was apparently how it was going to be. The group told her not to worry. It was to be expected. They had all gone through the same roller coaster of emotions with their own loved ones. It was the support group that helped them to keep going. Shortly after the support group left, the neighbors dropped by to welcome them to Solani. Blue was cordial and chatted with them for a short time. They left some dish, which in itself was a nice gesture, but it was a far cry from the dishes that Blue was capable of creating. She thanked them for their warm welcome. Blue's friends came over to see how he was doing. They stood around the bonfire and swapped outlandish stories, even joking that he was starting a new trend with his fancy scar. He looked at the fire and smiled weakly. They were trying in their own way to alleviate his discomfort. Henry and Thunder viewed a property for sale. It's an old medical training facility, Henry stated. I've managed to put in some furniture, but much of the facility is unchanged. There's a kitchen and upstairs a chapel. Downstairs is where there are still some cadavers and dissection tables. I've added a wormhole porthole so we can go to 6 a.m. if need be at any time. I've also brought our hibernation chamber. So we are not returning to the coroner's lab? For now, I believe we can keep up our subterfuge, because if Mercel and Carl knew anything, they would have been snooping around asking questions. It is what they do.